Entre os economistas, a chamada Escola de Chicago provoca amor e ódio. Por ali passaram nomes como o Prêmio Nobel Milton Friedman. E dali saíram ideias que têm em comum a defesa do livre mercado. O liberalismo da Universidade de Chicago inspirou a política econômica de privatizações e pouca interferência estatal de vários governos. Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, Augusto Pinochet. Chicago Boys foi o apelido que ganharam os economistas formados por lá. Dá para dizer que Deirdre McCloskey foi um dia um Chicago Boy. Depois de um PhD em Harvard, ela fez carreira na Universidade de Chicago, trabalhando com análise quantitativa pesada e microeconomia. Mas deu uma virada acadêmica nos anos 80, quando começou a estudar Filosofia da Ciência, História e Retórica. Numa vinda a São Paulo, para o Fronteiras do Pensamento, ela gravou com o Milênio.
Deixa eu explicar um pouquinho quem é a Deirdre. Ela se define no próprio site da internet dela como uma mulher do meio oeste americano que defende o livre mercado, faz essa defesa de forma veemente, aliás, frequenta a igreja episcopal e ela é literária, quantitativa, pós-moderna e um dia foi um homem. And you are by no means a conservative.
No.
If you had to pick a word to be a common denominator between your professional life, your writing, your economic thinking, and your personal life, would it be liberty?
Yes, yes, and I'm a liberal in the classical sense. That doesn't make that means I'm against forcing people with the fist. I want to persuade people with sweet talk.
No ano passado, a Deirdre terminou uma trilogia que fala da burguesia e das origens do capitalismo. O primeiro volume fala das virtudes da burguesia. O segundo, da dignidade dessa burguesia. O terceiro livro se concentra no fato de que muita gente, ali pelo fim do século XVIII, de repente tinha uma certa igualdade de condições para inventar, para buscar suas próprias oportunidades. You say that ideas and not capital changed the world,
Yes.
and you don't even like to name capitalism.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
It's a foolish word. It was invented by the enemies of capitalism. Capitalism was the word capitalism, and it suggests that piling brick on brick, or bank balance on bank balance, or university degree on university degree is how we became rich. And that's not true. We became rich with new ideas for cameras, for electricity, for the modern university, for containerization, a very simple idea where you get a steel box and you put it on ships. That's how we increased income in Brazil and the United States since 1800 by 3,000%. It's not, look, we've had capital accumulation since the caves. The Chinese built the Grand Canal and the Great Wall, great cities. The Romans built aqueducts and great structures. And in fact, what matters more in the modern world is not this physical capital, but human capital, actually what's between our ears. And that consists of ideas. That consists of new ways of doing things. Then the investment makes sense, and only then.
You say there was a revaluation of the bourgeoisie, first in Holland, then in England. And for this revaluation to be possible, there were other R's. Reformation, reading, revolt, and revolution.
Yes.
Was reading the most important one, maybe, because Reformation made reading important?
Yeah, what happened is that the traditional hostility to the merchants and the manufacturers and the shoemakers and so on, which was very ancient and you still have in Brazil, changed. First in Holland in the 1500s, then in England in the late 1600s, and people started to respect the middle class, the bourgeoisie. Now, this was not because of some, I don't know, some deep European superiority. It was because of accidents in politics. You mentioned what they were. The Reformation, which made people think, at least in Northern Europe, that they could take charge of their religious life. And the revolts and the revolutions, like the Dutch against the Spaniards, and then the English Revolution of the 1640s, and then the American Revolution, which was much more radical than people think, and then the French Revolution, all those raised the standing of the middle class, or of ordinary people, for that matter. And that's the essence of liberalism. It's a philosophy of equality, that I respect you as a person socially, that I allow you to enter occupations or to open a hairdressing salon, which I need, and that you're equal to me before the law. So that it was an accident. These were a series of accidents, including the spread of the printing press, which was in fact invented in China, that by accident put Europe ahead of China, South Asia, Ottoman Empire.
Entre os grandes pensadores, tem que é o favorito da Deirdre. Vamos ver qual é.
Adam Smith, nascido na Escócia em 1723, é considerado o teórico mais importante do liberalismo. Num de seus livros mais conhecidos, A Riqueza das Nações, ele defende que o sucesso dos países é resultado de ações individuais. Para ele, o interesse pessoal dos cidadãos e a livre concorrência, de preferência sem interferência do Estado, são os principais motores do crescimento econômico e da inovação técnica.
I noticed in previous interviews that when you mention a particular name, you make a particular gesture with your hand. And this name is Adam Smith.
Adam Smith, oh, he's my hero. I love Adam Smith. He was a sweet man. He was an unpretentious, sort of on the autism spectrum somewhere. He was probably gay, although people don't talk about that.
Really?
But I believe he was. He didn't ever have a girlfriend. He lived with his mother until she died. He had lots of male friends. But that, that's just a minor point. But he was a sweet man, and he's an amusing man. He had an oddly good sense of humor. So everyone thinks of him, oh, he's the patron saint of neoliberalism. He wants to hurt the poor people. No. He was an egalitarian, which was unusual, even in 1776. He believed passionately that the street porter, as he said, was equal in origin to the philosopher by the accidents of their situation. One went one way, one went the other, but when they were boys, they were equal. And he wanted everyone to be treated with respect. He spoke of the liberal plan of social equality, economic liberty, and equality before the law.
You said in a debate published by a British magazine that your position is that free markets are so beneficial they render equality irrelevant. Do you think inequality will forcefully diminish, in the coming years or decades, inequalities between countries and within countries? And is the phenomenon you call the great enrichment still taking place?
Well, in fact, that is the great enrichment, which continues and will continue for the next century and more, has reduced inequality. if you think of the Gini coefficient or any other measure of personal inequality, and if you do it by person, not within a single country, but by every person on the globe, equality has largely, greatly improved. The key point is to realize that the 3,000% increase in goods and services, improved health care, better air conditioning, automobiles, blah, 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 all those raise up the poor much more than in effect they raise up the rich. So if the poor, the poor are the main beneficiaries of modern economic growth, and the magnitude is so large that the amount you can accomplish by redistribution, let's take from the rich and give to the poor, is minor by comparison with this engine that Brazil could have.
And what do you think of Bolsa Família? We can translate as a family allowance.
I'm very much in favor of it. I'm in favor of a minimum income that we agree in politics, which is the minimum that for a dignified standard of living that a Brazilian should have as a supplement to their work. But in order to make this work, you've got to get rid of all of the interference in the labor market. And this means minimum wages, go away. This means job security, take it away. Because look, if you have job security, I love Brazil. Everyone, who doesn't love Brazil? But I also love another country in the Southern Hemisphere, South Africa. And South Africa, where I've taught, I love very much, has been a miracle since the coming of democracy. It hasn't been the bloodbath we thought it would be. So this is wonderful. But it's got the same low rate of growth that Brazil has. And this is largely because they have made job security. They imposed German labor law on South Africa. Crazy. This meant that you can't fire anyone. You can't sack or dismiss anyone. If they steal from you, you're an employee, or they insult the customers, or don't show up for work, you can't fire them unless they're convicted in a court of law. And I have a lot of stories about that. And it's a sad situation because then it means that the employers won't hire people, especially black people, especially young black people. So the unemployment rates among black South Africans, especially young ones, are appalling. They're over 50%. And this leads to crime and to all kinds of, and to despair. It's a terrible thing to do to someone to make them unemployable. And that's what most of the laws that help the middle class, help you and me, we already have jobs, and hurt the poorest in our societies.
Na África do Sul, a demissão tem que ser considerada justa. Caso contrário, vai parar numa corte de arbitragem e o empregador pode ser obrigado a readmitir o funcionário. A ruptura do contrato de trabalho só se justifica por lei se o empregado desobedeceu a uma regra do Código de Conduta da empresa. Mas essa regra tem que ser considerada razoável pelo tribunal. E a empresa tem que provar que o empregado tinha conhecimento prévio do código. Além disso, a demissão precisa ser considerada pela corte uma penalidade proporcional ao erro cometido pelo funcionário.
Nesse primeiro bloco, a gente falou um bocado de economia. No próximo bloco, vocês vão saber mais sobre a Deirdre, que, como a gente disse no começo do programa, um dia foi Donald. Não perca, daqui a pouquinho o Milênio já continua.
Caitlyn Jenner, Chaz Bono, Lea T, Tami Miranda. Hoje é vasta a lista de celebridades transexuais, mas muito antes que isso acontecesse, Precisamente 2 décadas antes de um filme como Garota Dinamarquesa emocionar muita gente fora do circuito LGBT, um economista americano cinquentão chamado Deirdre McCloskey resolveu romper tabus, desafiar preconceitos e se transformar em Deirdre McCloskey.
A Deirdre lançou, no fim dos anos 90, um livro chamado Crossing a Memoir. É um livro de memórias, em que ela conta como é que foi o processo de deixar de ser Donald e virar a Deirdre, que está agora aqui falando com a gente. Your book was amazingly successful. I'm sure that after this interview, many of our viewers are going to go after it. But for those who are already curious, can you tell us a little bit about this process of changing genders and how was the reaction of your family, colleagues, and students?
I expected, this was back in 1995, not the era of Caitlyn Jenner, or actually the person who just recently was elected to the House of Delegates in the state of Virginia, a trans woman. So this was a long time ago. This was a couple of decades ago. And I thought I would lose my job, my career, but I had decided in August of 1995, it suddenly hit me. I had decided that I was going to change and could change, that it was feasible. And so I expected to lose my career, which was very important to me. So you can see how strong it was. I didn't expect to lose my marriage family. My wife of 30 years, who's still the love of my life, if she walked in right now, I'd hug her and say, "Oh, Joanne, I love you." And my 2 children, my son is now 48, and my daughter is 42. They have abandoned me. It's the only bad news as far as I can tell. They haven't spoken to me since 1995. And this is like being stabbed and having the wound turned. But, look, when I tell my sad story, people come out with stories in their own families of how cousin Juan said something unkind to cousin Helena at Christmas 10 years ago, and they've never spoken to each other again. This happens. People, I don't know, people throw away love with amazing casualness. They just say, "Oh, love, schmug," throw it away. So that's the only bad news. So far as my career, I've been able to go on being a professor and a writer. For a while, I didn't pass, and I had operations. These are my cheekbones. I paid for them. I believe in capitalism. This is my nose. I paid for it.
Your breasts.
Well, we don't have to get into that.
But it's feasible, right?
Thank you. So I pass now. I don't have any trouble. My voice is just, I had a vocal operation that didn't work, and that's one of my regrets. But I'm 75 years old, and I can say, this is the voice you have when you drink a quart of whiskey and smoke 50 cigarettes a day. No, I don't, but I can say that.
Do you see a conservative tide in the world right now coming along with prejudice, hatred, even faces racism, especially in the U.S.?
Yeah, I do, but I see it everywhere. I think it's a reaction. It's populism is what it is. Mm-hmm. And it came from the left to the right, these days especially from the right. But, what do you call Putin? Is he right-wing? Not exactly. He's just a thief. He just steals from people. So I don't know if that's left or right. So it's a reaction, I think, speaking of my own country, to the advances of liberation, women's liberation. Notice Donald Trump's putting down of women all the time, of his treatment of them as sexual objects. Just look at the women around him, and you can see that. And then his friends are openly misogynistic. And then, well, for example, the transgender ban that he announced in the military. Well, the military doesn't want that. They've got skilled people who have gone from male to female or female to male, and they're working out very well. They do their job. They're good soldiers. The military said, well, wait, we'll study it. But he did it not out of principle, but because he throws food to this base of his of reactionary people. I think reaction is the best word to use, because they're frightened. They don't feel, and the basic problem here is that the politicians take advantage of it. Here's my hope. I think it's just a swing. I think it'll swing back. And I think, fortunately, Donald Trump, speaking again of my own country, is so stupid, so incompetent, such an obvious criminal. I suspect he's going to end up in jail because he's done things in the past that are straightforwardly illegal. Money laundering, for example, on a massive scale. But anyway, fortunately, he's not clever. He's not like Mussolini, who is very intelligent. And so I think he's shown that populism doesn't work and it'll swing back, I hope.
Eu vou ler um poema numa tradução livre. É o seguinte: o amor é uma ponte sem forma, com prováveis 3 metros de largura, 2,5 de altura, 300 de profundidade. É feita de espírito, ligando você aonde ele estiver, ele aonde você está. Que a ponte seja amorfa não representa perigo, pois são sem peso aqueles que amam. I just read my poor translation of one definition, one of my Helen McCloskey's favorite poems.
Helen McCloskey, you read my mother's poetry?
Yeah, exactly. I just read your mother's poetry.
She's 95 now.
Wow, she's still alive.
Yeah, still alive.
So, and I found it so beautiful that she dedicated the book Curve of Nature to you, to my daughter, Deirdre. So, she seems to be a great supporter.
She took 5 minutes to adjust.
Really?
Now, she's known me longer than anyone else. Mm-hmm. So she sometimes calls me Donald and he, without intending any insult. And indeed, my sister and I puzzle over, let's see, am I her oldest daughter, since I'm the oldest child, or am I her youngest daughter? Because I only became her daughter in 1995. So it's a kind of a joke between us. But she's, a lot of my personality comes from her. And a lot of my father was very smart. He was a professor at Harvard. But my mother, who didn't graduate from college, thinks of herself as not an intellectual. And I say, Mother, you're an intellectual. She's interested in ideas in a way that my father, who was an expert, was not so much.
In your profile written by your friend Stefan Ziliak for a book about the Chicago School of Economics, he begins quoting you. I try to show that you don't have to be a barbarian to be a Chicago school economist. You have succeeded, don't you think so?
Well, thank you very much. I hope so. What I think I've done is helped along a project of a few of us, not too many economists, for humanomics, an economics that acknowledges that we're humans, that we have love and justice and courage mixed in with our prudence. We're not sort of monsters of calculation and prudence. And I think it's helped me to change gender and become a Christian, to acknowledge this and to see that economics should not, although we shouldn't throw away the mathematics. I want there to be more mathematics in economics, not less. We shouldn't throw away the statistics. We should do that. But we should think of the economy as being a field for human interaction.
Deirdre McCloskey, may I call you Deirdre?
You may indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear.
Interview.
It's been lovely. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.